Welcome back to the Magnetic Growth Podcast. This is actually a special episode because we're in person today. Normally, the world of crypto, everyone's everywhere and you have to film stuff online, unfortunately. But we're in Bali, Indonesia at the moment. It's too hot in Dubai, so we've escaped for a little bit. And luckily, we've stumbled across a very cool guest, a guest that I think is going to provide you guys with a lot of context on where the market currently is, as this is the question that we are all asking ourselves. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Danielle, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me on the podcast. I appreciate it.
Do I call you Danielle or do I call you CryptoCrush?
Whatever you want. Either way, I don't mind.
Okay, well, I'll go formal. I'll call you Danielle.
hmm
But I guess the first question is pretty simple. What's going on right now in the market?
I mean, the markets right now is heating up really, really nicely. I mean, Bitcoin just hit new all-time highs. And also now altcoins are really starting to move. Ethereum is absolutely skyrocketing, which is amazing to see. Everyone thought ETH was dead, and now everyone's completely switched up and is like, "Oh my god, ETH to $15,000." So it's really good to see that Ethereum's taking a lot of dominance away from like Bitcoin, and with that, the rest of the altcoins have started to move, and it's looking like potentially the start of the altcoin season. So yeah, market's looking really nice. What about you? What's your thoughts?
You're sounding like Santa Claus right now because that's all we've been wishing for a very, very long time.
I know.
My thoughts are pretty simple. I want to see a big rotation
hmm
to feel like the belief in me because we've had many circumstances in the last few years where I thought it's time, it's time. But we also never had like the move of ETH that we've got now,
Yeah.
which is like that additional hope that we've got. I'm also just from a bystander looking forward to see how the market plays out because different cycles the money leading ETH has been from different purses. Now we have institutional money that's leading ETH.
Yeah.
How far do rotations catch? When you
hmm
look at, I don't know, a coin that's got a $5 million, $10 million market cap, they're really going to catch a rotation from institutional pockets? Probably not.
Mm-mm.
But will FOMO be great enough where people just go and rotate out of ETH from a retail level and still bring enough money into the rest of the market? So that's the bit that I'm waiting to see. But yeah, I'd love for you to give a little bit of context about why you're talking about this stuff. Like, what do you do? Who are you? I think that'd be really helpful.
Yeah. So a lot of you guys will probably know me as CryptoCrush. That's kind of my like alias inside of crypto. And I started crypto when I was 17. So it's coming on like 7 years ago now. Bought the top of the market of the 2017-2018 cycle.
Nice.
Rode it all the way down. And from that point kind of caught the bug and was just super interested in blockchain technology and crypto in general. And then, taught myself technical analysis, started trading Forex, and then moved back into crypto during COVID and started trading XRP, which is everyone's first, project that they
Mm,
tend to get into. And traded that really well. And then went back into spot and started buying up like ETH at like $400, like Cardano at like 10 cents, like, super early price points, Bitcoin at like 10K. And then just started to learn what it takes to build, a winning portfolio. And then delved even deeper into the markets, looked at all sorts of stuff. DeFi, was doing a lot of, staking, farming, all that kind of stuff. And then just kind of dipped my toe into everything. Started working with some of the biggest crypto exchanges in the world, and ran my own Web3 marketing agency for a little while, just trying to get my foot in the door with every single conceivable thing that you could do in crypto. And with that, still building the portfolio and trading. And then now I started a personal brand about 3 years ago, just off the pure love of wanting to teach people about crypto. My first video was on central bank digital currencies, and that instantly went viral, which was amazing. And then from there, I've just built this personal brand where I educate people on crypto. And now I've got my own coaching program where, I've got hundreds of clients inside my own bespoke platform where I can, help them basically create and replicate the strategies that I've, created and built over the last like 7 years.
Nice, nice. So just continuous exploring and then
Yeah.
finding probably what makes you tick the most, which is teaching other people.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing. I like serving other people, and serving clients was great for a period of time, and it was tough during the bear market. But what I really realized is I just love working with, individual people and helping them see win. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Awesome. And I can't move on to like other questions without asking something that you mentioned. You mentioned that XRP was one of your kind of entrances to the market,
Mhm.
something that you held at first. I see a lot of crazy stuff on crypto Twitter about XRP and people's expectations. Some people hate it, some people love it. But what I want to know is, what do you think XRP has in store for it this cycle?
I think the landscape for XRP has changed dramatically. So when I was trading XRP in 2020, this was just before the SEC lawsuit. So I ended up getting out of XRP just before the lawsuit hit. So I was kind of lucky on that side of things. Since then, it's been very difficult to, have an understanding of where XRP was going to go because there's so much regulatory uncertainty. But now, over the last like 6 months to around 12 months, that's started to change. It's looking a little bit clearer. We've also just had, well, Crypto Week is this week,
Hmm.
and we've had a bunch of bills go through, and one of them being the anti-CBDC lawsuit, and that is helping XRP and the ISO 222 tokens, which are basically the cryptocurrencies that's underlying this new banking system that is coming into play over the next few years. So those bills going through has been a real eye opener to say, yeah, XRP is probably going to be around for a long time. The regulatory uncertainty has definitely decreased dramatically. So XRP now definitely has kind of the light at the end of the tunnel where it potentially could continue to go up in price, and it has. It's just hit new all-time highs today, actually. So um, it's
Okay.
looking good. It's looking good.
It's
My opinions changed about XRP dramatically.
Yeah, it's just that coin that friends that aren't in crypto say, "Oh, what do you think about this coin?" And that's what I get asked all the time, and I'm
Hmm.
like, I don't know. Um, I mean, I'm not looking too much at the big end of the market. I'm trying to see what the next XRP is going to be, but um, yeah, it's got a real connection with people that aren't in crypto as well. XRP, that's something they've done very well from like a brand point of view. Like people that aren't in crypto think Ethereum, Bitcoin, and then for some reason they always think XRP.
Hmm.
I was talking to a friend the other day, and he was saying, "I've just had the weirdest phone call of my life." This was like 2 days ago. I was like, "Okay, explain." He's like, one of my friends put someone in contact with me because he wanted some advice because he was told by this guy that he should go all in on XRP. So I asked like more about who this guy is. Why does he think he should go all in on XRP? And all he said is that he's remortgaged his house, he's sold his car, and he's taken out another loan all to buy XRP.
That's
Um,
insane.
don't do this.
Yeah,
If you're
don't do
listening,
that.
do not do this. But yeah, it's crazy how much belief there is outside of the crypto market for XRP.
I think XRP, like you said, has very good like branding, and it's always the first one that people get into, and it's the one that people hear a lot. And also, um, it's cheap in comparison if you look at like Bitcoin and ETH in terms of price, not in terms of market cap necessarily. So people look at $100,000 Bitcoin and are like, I can't buy that. They look at a $3,500 ETH, they're like, I can't buy that, but I can buy a $3.50 XRP. So in their mind, it's cheaper. So that's typically the reason why a lot of the beginners get into XRP as well, because it's in the top 10, but it's also seen by them as cheaper, even though that's not exactly correct because they just have a bigger supply.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I think that's also why. And obviously with all the banking partnerships that they have, it kind of makes sense outside of crypto.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, XRP is definitely a controversial one to a lot of people in crypto, including myself.
Yeah, we'll leave the XRP discussions there before one of us says something that gets us cancelled by crypto Twitter. So, something else you mentioned was Crypto Week. That's obviously when we say Crypto Week, we're talking about the US. And yeah, I wanted your thoughts on Crypto Week, how you think that this affects the industry, might affect the market as well, what we've seen so far. So yeah, just give me the down low on Crypto Week.
Yeah, I mean, Crypto Week, I've kind of renamed it in my group as the Altcoin Week, because altcoins are going insane off the back of Crypto Week. But just a quick breakdown: there's three bills that have now been pushed forward. Two of the main ones being the stablecoin bill, which is huge. This is great because it gives, stablecoins more access in the US market, so USDC, USDT, and also USD1, which is Donald Trump's stablecoin, or his family stablecoin that he just created through World Liberty Financial, which is their DeFi project. So the bill makes a lot of sense because it gives them more access to be able to distribute their stablecoin across not just the US market but global markets in general. And it also increases crypto adoption massively because now stablecoins are going to be regulated in a way where it protects consumers. It's now going to be free flowing throughout the market, and then that opens up a lot of things like tokenization of real world assets. You're going to see stocks, bonds, commodities being tokenized on the blockchain, being bought through stable coins. You're going to see, a lot more just transactions going through the blockchain utilizing stable coins. So that's really good. And then the anti-central bank digital currency bill is massive as well. A lot of people know that I'm massive on being against central bank digital currencies. I don't like the traceability or trackability. I don't like central banks having, full control over your euro or your pound. So Trump's come in and gone, nope, that's not happening. We don't want that, and that's great, and it's amazing for the U.S. economy. And I think it's going to be really great for stablecoins as well. So these bills have been really great, and off the back of that, like we were talking about before, the ISO 222 token, so XRP, Stellar, HBAR, any project that is creating this new banking infrastructure, those tokens are going to do really, really well off the back of that as well. So super positive for the adoption of crypto in general. And it's a real big step forward. And it's probably the most exciting week that we've had in crypto in 2025, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's interesting that we're floating back into discussions on how crypto affects everything that we do, aside from the last kind of 12 to 18 months where, I mean, the last like 5 or 6 months have been a bit disappointing. I think everyone assumed that Trump coming in, we were just going to send, and obviously the market started to heat up at the end of last year, and we were all very disappointed. Then previous to that, just a summer of creation of coins that just have no real value
Yeah.
in the world, but for entertainment purposes in the trenches. So yeah, it's great to hear that breakdown and dialing in on stablecoins specifically. I mean, like you mentioned with the Genius Act, one thing that I saw pop up the other day was that companies as well, like Amazon and Walmart, are
Yeah.
looking to create their own stablecoin.
Yeah.
And then the logic behind it is the amount of money that it would save in banking fees.
Mhm.
So I guess stablecoins are at all-time highs. Where do you see stablecoins impacting, not just business and consumers moving forward, but the global macro economy?
Yeah, it's really interesting because I do think that companies are going to start to create their own stable coins. I mean, we predicted that Trump was going to create his own stable coin way, way back on another podcast, maybe like 6 months ago. We were like, yeah, it makes sense for Trump to create his own stable coin, and he did it. And the same goes for companies like Amazon or, even companies like Meta, Google, like all of these companies are likely going to create their own stablecoin, and that just gives them more autonomy over their own ecosystem. It makes banking fees cheaper. It's cross border. Anyone can get access to it. So even people that are, that can't get access to the dollar, for example, they can now get access to the dollar through stablecoins.
Mhm.
And they might choose to use the Amazon stablecoin or Trump stablecoin. So we're going to see probably a lot more issuance of different stable coins. It's going to be interesting to see what the impact of that's going to be on the US dollar as well, and how the dominance is either going to increase with the dollar. I think it probably potentially short term will get stronger because there'll be more of an inflow of people utilizing, um, you know, stable coins. We just have to be very, very careful with how it is backed. Because obviously we've had, a little bit of uncertainty maybe 5 or 6 years ago with USDT and whether it was actually pegged 1 to 1 to the dollar. So if you're going to be utilizing other stable coins, is just making sure that it is regulator like audited properly and that it is pegged actually 1 to 1 to the dollar.
Mhm.
We don't want a Luna Terra UST crash again. That's not what we want.
No, we do not want anything that's going to come in and pour on our current parade. Um, Something else that popped up in my head when you were talking about stablecoins and how they affect the macro climate was to do with and specifically the US rate cuts. It's something that we've all spoken about. We all speak about money supply and how that can impact crypto and also creating maybe an environment that's better for risk on assets like crypto. Because yeah, maybe in my opinion, macroeconomically right now, we're not probably in the most favorable conditions that we could be for risk on assets. So I wanted your take on that. I think there's the chance for rates to be cut in around September time.
Mhm.
Do you think it's going to happen? Do you think there's going to be um, a weird dynamic now at play if stablecoins have huge acceleration between now and September in their adoption? Do you think that's going to affect anything? Yeah, give me a breakdown.
Yeah, I mean, the US is actually behind the rest of the world at the moment. So typically or historically, US moves first. So if they cut rates, then the rest of the world follow.
Mhm.
This is actually the complete opposite. So the rest of the world have been cutting rates dramatically. And you can track this because if you look at the M2 money supply, the global liquidity index, you can see that we have been, adding a lot of global liquidity to the markets over the last 6 months. And that's driven primarily from China and also from the rest of the world. So the US is actually the last major economy that needs to cut rates. So I was hoping that they would cut them in July. However, that's clearly not happening. So I am confident that they will cut them in September. They want 2 rate cuts before the end of the year, which makes sense that it would be September for them to cut rates. And if they do that, game on. Like they're the last economy to pump liquidity back in, and once they do, then you know that liquidity is then gonna go into the crypto markets, and that's where the euphoric blow off top will be.
Okay, so between now, this is just CryptoCrush's take on where the market's going. We're in a good position now. What happens between now and September? What happens between now and that blow off? Do we keep going up? Is there further rotations? Do we slow down? What do you think? What's your take? What happens through the end of July and August before potentially, like you mentioned, a blow off top in September?
It could be buy the rumor, sell the news, kind of thing, where people are expecting the rates to cut in September. Everything from technical to macro is pointing towards way, way, way more bullish. I'm seeing, that rotation happen. Ethereum is moving and dominating against Bitcoin for the first time in this cycle, which is what we've been waiting for. With that, altcoins are now starting to move. People are starting to take profits on Bitcoin. You can see that. Whales have taken profits on their Bitcoin. That's getting redistributed into Ethereum. A lot of institutions are taking profits on Bitcoin and buying ETH. So that rotation is happening. And we know what happens. Once liquidity goes into ETH, it then goes into alts, then it goes into micros, and then you have that kind of blow off top. So for me, I don't really see that slowing down. Um, all the data is pointing towards that, August and September is going to be really, really good months. So yeah, hopefully it's a replication of what happened sort of Q4 of last year, but we've got
Mm,
that ETH dominance there this time, which is really key.
yeah, agreed, agreed. And something else that's very important when you're talking about how the rest of the market catches rotations. I think I kind of alluded to it very, early on in this podcast. But if the money is in the top end of the market, the reason that Bitcoin is sending or Ethereum is sending is it's institutional money. Like I mentioned, that institutional money is they're not going to rotate that into a micro cap coin.
Hmm.
But there could be FOMO of people thinking who are in retail that can rotate into smaller coins,
Yeah.
saying, okay, this is what's next. So I'm going to start pumping money into the lower end of the market. But the bigger end of the market allowed to accept institutional money is potentially increasing with different ETFs.
Hmm.
So I wanted your opinion on what does the ETF market look like in a couple of years? Are we going to end up seeing, um, and we're already seeing a lot of people filing, but are we going to end up seeing maybe 30, 40, 50, the top 100
Hmm.
coins, all with ETFs behind them, allowing institutions to transact? Or are we just going to see the top 10?
Yeah, I mean, there's 31 altcoin ETF applications right now already, of which we will then see in the next 6 to 12 months whether these get accepted. We've just had the first Salana ETF be approved, although technically not through SEC regulations, but this is the first step. Also, XRP ETFs are being filed and are starting to be accepted as well. So we're going to start to see a lot of altcoin ETFs be approved, I think, in the next 6 to 12 months. A lot of them will be top 10, so it'll be like Sol, XRP. But we are seeing other ones like, Sui, Doge. There was even I think a Pepe ETF being filed as well. So I'm not sure if that one will get through, but a lot of the
Why not for the culture?
yeah, maybe that could be that could definitely be an interesting one. Um, but yeah, I think institutional money is gonna go into altcoins thick and fast. To be honest, so yeah, that's the way that I see it, and hopefully it will happen within the next 6 months because that could add to the euphoric blow off top as well with those ETF applications going through.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I mean, if the money starts getting rotated out of Bitcoin and Ethereum, and then into even smaller alts, like you said, they just need the vehicle in place to enable institutions to be able to do that, and expand that rotation flow coming down and down into different coins. Because, as we know, there's people that have or retail that have billions of dollars stuck in so many different coins. And if institutions come in and start pumping the money into those coins, they can get out and they might be a little bit more degen. They might have different low to medium cap plays that they want to make. And now they can because they can rotate profits that institutions have kindly kind of given to them. It's quite a paradox because we're normally trying to guess what the institutions are doing. And I mean, even in this context we are. But if you look at other markets, they lead the way, and the
Mm,
retail guy has a very tough chance to try and guess what they're going to do, where they're going to move certain markets. Whereas in this one, what we've seen so far, I mean, ETH ETF took a while to get going.
yeah,
That was maybe the only fear, but um, the money's still coming thick and fast, and it's had a huge impact on ETH holders.
yeah,
I don't know, I got a story. So in like March time, I got money together to buy a new car in Dubai, right? I was gonna buy a Range Rover, and I got like all the stables together. And I was sitting in a beach club with my brother, and I was like, "Oh, this guy's giving me a bit of grief. Like he's starting to change the price. He's doing all this stuff, and the money's just sitting there. I thought, you know what? I'm just gonna buy ETH and Sol." And yeah, I never bought the Range Rover. I just bought ETH and Sol. So when I go back, I'm gonna have two Range Rovers, and by the end of this cycle, I'm gonna have zero Range Rovers because I'm gonna round trip everything. But that's the life of being in crypto. But yeah, when we talk about like the two major coins, Bitcoin and Ethereum, I always find it so fascinating watching how they compare to each other.
hmm
And I'm sure from your position, you're on that side of the market a lot more than me. So I wanted to get your take on Bitcoin and Ethereum, how they're progressing against each other over time. We've obviously seen a lot of Bitcoin dominance in this cycle.
yeah.
Now Ethereum started to move a lot in the last 3 or 4 weeks. So what is the relationship between Bitcoin and Ethereum right now?
Yeah, I mean, Bitcoin leads the way. It's the number one. It's coined as the digital gold now. I think Bitcoin could compete with actual gold in the next 5 to 10 years. I think it could get up to the market cap of gold just because people are now seeing that as the store of value. It's cross border. It's easy to get hold of. You can send it within seconds. Gold is just like clunky. It's hard to get hold of. You have to get hold of gold through an ETF unless you want to store actual gold itself, and that's hard to store. So Bitcoin makes sense for it to be that store of value. Ethereum is different because it operates on smart contracts. So I always coin it as kind of like the app store for the iPhone. So it has a lot of these um, decentralized financial products built on top of Ethereum. It's like a huge banking system in a sense, which is different. As in, like Bitcoin is one thing, Ethereum is many things at once, and holds a lot of value within it. The total value locked of Ethereum is absolutely huge, and you can lend and borrow, and you can get access to money, stable coins, all on Ethereum. So it is completely different in that sense. So within that, institutions view it differently. Institutions view Bitcoin as the store of value, which is why they're happy to hold that, long term. They have a long-term strategy. There's, Bitcoin reserves being created on a government level, on a country level. But with Ethereum, I I would assume that institutions view that differently, as more of like a banking system, as opposed to just one commodity. So that's the difference from like a macro. If we look at where we stand now with Bitcoin versus Ethereum in terms of dominance, Bitcoin's gone up massively. It's at 120,000. It's probably only got another 20-30% left in it this cycle, 150K to 200K Bitcoin this cycle. ETH isn't even at all-time highs yet. So it's still got a long way to go in terms of the percentage gain that it has this cycle. So from a gain perspective, institutions are probably looking at that as an opportunity cost to sell out some of their Bitcoin that they've made huge profit in since getting in, when the ETF first came around. Now, putting that money into Ethereum and gaining traction from there. So that's where I see it from a technical perspective.
And talking about a technical perspective, what are you tracking on altcoins in general? Not just talking about Bitcoin and Ethereum, but when you're assessing other altcoins and you're trying to work out where their next move is going, what specifically are you looking at? What's your main indicators?
hmm There's a few things that I look at. One of the main things is I want to know what blockchain's going to move. We had Solana last cycle, for example. This cycle, it's been SUI for a long time. Remember seeing SUI at $200 million market cap. It's now at like, 15 billion, something like that. I think more than that, maybe towards $20 billion market cap. So that's been a real, really good asset to hold over the last like, 2 to 3 years. And a lot of that is due to looking inside of the ecosystem. What's the total value locked? How many projects are building on it? What's the volume, the trading volume within that ecosystem? So we've been tracking that for a really long time. And then one that's recently come on our radar is Hyperliquid. Hyperliquid is eventually going to be a layer one blockchain. But at the moment, it's, the main decentralized exchange in the ecosystem. It holds about 75% of the entire volume of all decentralized exchanges. The total value locked is increasing massively. We use it, we trade on it. It's great. So that's one that we've been tracking for a long time, and we really like, and we think has huge potential. So we're seeing that, and that's what we track: volume, total value locked, how many people are using it, how many people are building on an ecosystem. That's what we're looking at. And one recently that we've been tracking that looks really good is Psy. Psy is coined as like the Asian version of Sui. Sui is at that 15 to $20 billion market cap. Psy's at like 1.2 billion. It is very similar. It's very fast. There's loads of projects building on it at the moment. The total value locked is increasing massively. We see that as a huge undervaluation. So that's kind of one of our main plays at the moment, is looking at Psy, because we just think it's undervalued.
Okay, and because we've pivoted the conversation into talking about newer blockchains that could become a part of the future, uh, Mo, who works with Magnet, would not be very happy if I didn't mention this one because he is an abstract maxi. He is a walking penguin. Um, but yeah, I mean, Luca Netz has yeah, he's a phenomenal marketer, arguably the best marketer in crypto right now, and he's proven that time and time again. But when you look at Abstract, I'm not sure how much you know about Abstract, but from my view as a growth hacker, I look at what they're doing and I think it's very smart, because I think they know that trying to compete with other L1s is an extremely difficult task,
Hmm.
especially when you're talking about some of these bigger guys that have billions of dollars in their treasury. How do you compete? How do you bring a new layer one and bring the projects and bring the adoption onto your chain? Two ways. The first one is you become very niche and focused on a specific industry or deliverable that you're trying to provide through your chain. So you might be, I don't know, the chain for consumer, and that's something that Abstract are pushing towards. You might be the chain for motorsport. So another project we've worked with in the past at Magnet is an L1, deep in L1, and they have a huge focus on motorsport. So trying to become very well known and well versed within that specific industry. The second way is that you manage to create enough hype to bring the transaction to your chain. And with Abstract at the moment, it's all about the thought that there's going to be an airdrop. There's going to
Hmm.
be this super valuable airdrop, and therefore you need to be earning XP on Abstract.
Hmm.
I walk into the office some days, and these dudes working for Magnet are playing games, right? And I'm like, why are you playing games with penguins on? And they're like, Abstract airdrop. So that's coming back to the point of how intelligent Luca is. Um, they haven't formally said, "Oh, this is going to be the airdrop. These are going to be tiers." It's just people speculating. But the more that speculation goes on, the more it's bringing people that work for Magnet into the mix to start trying to participate in the airdrop and not doing our work, but trying to get airdrops. So that aura of being able to create speculation to bring the volume to the chain and holding that out as long as possible, so that by the end of this period, they have enough volume, enough TVL to be able to compete with the big chains without having to
Hmm.
spend the sort of money that these big chains have to get to where they are. Because
Yeah,
you mentioned Sui. I'd love to see how much money they've spent to get
so
to
much.
to get to where they are.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, from my perspective, looking from a growth point of view, they're the two things that really lead to an L1 being successful and an L1 maybe not making it, because there are tons. And I guess when we look at the L1 space, a lot of people do say, um, why do there need to be so many L1s? So I wanted to get your views on that as well. Do there need to be this many L1s? What's in an ideal world, if you could click your fingers and this is the setup of L1s in crypto, what does that look like?
It's so hard because I think every blockchain has something unique about them. Like you said, like you can niche down. You can have an L blockchain for motorsports, or I know Sui is massive on gaming, for example. Solana's got at the moment, the trenches pretty much. That's kind of its ecosystem right now. Um, so every single one of them has something unique. I do think what will end up happening is we will end up having kind of a super layer one, which will be little bits of each layer one conjoined together. Because I think where we're going is we're going omni chain, we're going cross chain. People are going to use certain blockchains for different things, but in the future, it's all going to be integrated together one way or another. It's not going to be one competing with another, it's going to be one merging with the other. We can already see that there's a lot of mergers happening between like ETH and Sol, as in, 4 years ago, it was very separate. So I can just see that every layer one will have its own unique thing, and they will merge into one super layer one. Um, that's the way that I see it. That's kind of why I like, Celestia in terms of its actual technology, because it utilizes and helps, bridge different layer twos, layer ones together, even layer zeros together to create kind of like a super blockchain. So that's the
Mhm.
way that I kind of see it going. But I think you are right in terms of what you're saying about Luca and like Abstract is you have VC backed blockchains like Solana, Sui, Sai. That's why they do really well, because they've raised hundreds of millions of dollars. and they've got hundreds of millions of dollars to spend on marketing and, helping bridge projects over or pinch projects from one chain to another. I've seen so many projects move from, they could have been building on Avalanche, now they're building on Sui, um, which is super interesting, and that's where the money's flowing at the moment. But where Luca is really different is, obviously with everything that he's done, he's very good at, like you said, growth hacking, and he's very good at getting people that are like real natives in the crypto space and respect the space to build on abstract because of that. It's the loyalty that lies there, which I think is really interesting. It'd be interesting to see how the airdrop works and whether Pengu's got anything to do with it, because Pengu's up like 570% right now. So that's an interesting one as well.
Yeah, the Penguins are sending hard at the moment. The
Yeah.
Penguins are, yeah, they're doing their thing. But yeah, I'm also intrigued to see how it plays out. And Luca, if you listen to this, can you get this over with? Because, like I said, the team at Magnet, I can't be watching them play games on Abstract for the next 6, 12, 18 months until you decide to pull the trigger on the airdrop. Just get it done, please, bro. Anyway, moving on to other conversations. So one thing that I wanted to say about L1s is to do with token liquidity, because every chain will have its own liquidity that
Hmm.
supports the tokens within their ecosystem. And from a growth perspective, the more places that you have your token that has access to different liquidity,
Hmm.
the better chance that you have at being able to bring liquidity and obviously improve the token. When you're going into a market like this, if there's a lot of liquidity moving to a specific chain and you don't have a version of your token on that chain, you're going to miss out on liquidity.
Yeah.
It's the same with, a lot of projects are always like, right, we want to get listed on the biggest tier one centralized exchanges. And why? They bring liquidity, they have
Hmm.
users. But the same goes with looking at up and coming chains, or even if you're looking like Ethereum and you've never had like a version of your token on Ethereum, like native Ethereum users are going to go, right, I've got profits in ETH, I want to rotate, and I'm going to do it now on a DEX on Ethereum. And
Yeah.
if your token isn't there, you're not in the conversation.
Hmm.
So I wanted to get your opinion on how much you think liquidity affects tokens. And if you were, and I know you're not, but if you were looking at the other side of the industry and you were in this market right now and you were looking to launch a token, what chain would you launch it on? What would your approach
Ooh,
be?
interesting. Um, I I would probably say right now it would make the most sense to launch on Solana. I think that's just where the most liquidity is, and it's also where hundreds of thousands of people have a phantom wallet. Especially with the Trump coin that got launched, there was hundreds of thousands of new people that got introduced to the Solana blockchain just because of that. So I think launching on Solana makes the most sense. I do believe you are right in saying that the more liquidity that you have on different chains, the more likelihood you have of that token doing well, because it just makes sense. And this is what I'm talking about in terms of, omni-chain, cross-chain. Like this is the integration of loads of different blockchains. That's happening already with tokens. I remember back in 2023 or 2024 when ordinals became a thing, and it was super, super difficult to use ordinals. And there was a billion different steps to get hold of, Bitcoin based tokens. And there was, some tokens that would bridge to Solana. And those were the ones that did really well because it opened up liquidity to new people and a new ecosystem, which is fantastic. So I think the more blockchains you are available on, the better it is. There is a caveat to that as well. You can be on all the different blockchains, but if you have really bad tokenomics, probably not going to do so well, or you have a problem competing with other tokens that have better tokenomics. So, for example, Hyperliquid. Hyperliquid in liquidity terms is actually not as available as a lot of other tokens in the market. You can't really get it in the US. It's not on that many exchanges. It's not on that many tier one exchanges, but it's performed phenomenally well because it has a really good tokenomic system, i.e., where if you're trading on Hyperliquid, a percentage of the trading fees goes with a buyback and burn mechanism, which means 65% of every single trade that is made, that fee goes back to buying the hyperliquid token. And that's why it's held really, really strong because of that. It has really good tokenomics. So I think a conjunction of both, having liquidity across all different blockchains and then having really strong tokenomics, winner in my eyes.
Yeah, it's interesting you pick up on that because if I had a pound for every time that I said to a project hyperliquid and use them as an example when trying to grow them, I wouldn't need to be in this industry. Like I use them so much as an example because often when projects think about tokenomics, they just think about supply. Like, oh
Hmm.
yeah, I'm gonna get 2% as as the founder. The rest of the team is gonna get 10%. This amount's going to ecosystem. We'll put this in liquidity. La la la. We've heard it all before, but they're never really thinking about the other side of the coin. Like, what about where the money comes in to the ecosystem? You're building your own economy. You can't just provide supply,
Hmm.
right? You need to supply. You need to bring in demand as well. And oftentimes, especially with a lot of vaporware projects, they're like, oh, because our token's going to do all these amazing things,
Hmm.
right? And that's why people are going to come and buy it. Hyperliquid took a completely different approach. They went, okay, I'm gonna put something out there and we're gonna get loads of users. And the users are most probably going to use it because they think they're going to get some form of airdrop. But when they start using it, they're not going to want to stop using it.
Yeah.
And then that means when we do airdrop, they airdrop like over 30% of their tokens. Price kept going up.
Yeah.
Wait, if you sold your hyperliquid airdrop when you got it, you have been wrecked, sir.
Hmm.
Like there's no two ways about it. Because they had the other side, as you mentioned. The benefit of that product that say the business would receive, they're putting straight back into the market.
Yeah.
So if you come and use our product, we're gonna not be greedy. We're gonna put that money back into your pockets if you're holding the token.
Yeah.
And it's something so simple, but every single altcoin can learn from this.
Yeah. I think we're seeing the shift now. We're seeing in the past, specifically in the trenches, it's been take, right? It's always been the insiders, the founders, all this and that have made the money and have left retail absolutely wrecked, right? No one wants that anymore. Hyperliquid's come in and gone, oh, you know what we're going to do? We're actually just going to buy back our own token. We're going to, feed back into the ecosystem. We're going to reward retail for holding our token. And now we're seeing, for example, Pump Funds just released its token. Its launch was okay, nothing special, but it's because there's a new platform called Let's Bonk, right, that is taking huge market share away from Pump Fund. And the reason for that is because they've gone, well, we're going to copy Hyperliquid's tokenomics. Every trade that is made on the platform, a percentage of that is going to go back into buying the Bonk token. And with that, you've seen Bonk going absolutely parabolic. It's up, I don't know, 70% in the last couple of days, just because of that buyback and burn mechanism. You're giving back to retail, you're giving back to the holders. And that is something that we've seen switch very recently, probably in the last 6 months, where we've realized that, we actually want to give back to the ecosystem. We want to feed it, not take it away. We don't want a liquidity black hole like we did a few months prior when the whole casino imploded with Solana. We don't want that. So that's another change in this altcoin rally that I'm seeing as well. Is a lot of it is feeding back into the ecosystem, and that is helping the growth of altcoins as well, which is really good to see. And I'm happy to see that that's the way that the market is moving. And yeah, if you're building a project, copy Hyperliquid's tokenomics.
There we go. And I want to coin the term here, right? So um, I created something at Magnet called the Magnet Laboratory. And this is where we share our different growth inventions. Because I still think that the best way to grow a crypto project is yet to be discovered. And Hyperliquid's a perfect example because we know that token is greatest growth asset to be able to send a project and how that activates network effects, how that creates viral growth, how that becomes your future marketing engine and everything else. And the first invention was the magnet method, which became a best-selling book. One of the other inventions is token product fit. I don't know if the team's launched it yet. I wrote it a while ago, but it's all about how well does your token fit your product, and how does as we're discussing now, the success of your product end up benefiting the token. How does that token have holder value capture and things like this? So yeah, I guess this is written out If you feel like, oh, I want to know what's next in the market, there's a written PDF somewhere circulating about this specific term, which is token product fit. So I was very surprised when I thought of this a few months ago. I was like Googling, I was like, token product fit, nothing was coming up. There was token market fit, because obviously in Web 2 we have product market fit.
Hmm.
No one said token product fit, and I was like, token fit product, great name. And
Yeah.
obviously Hyperliquid have done exactly that. So let's coin the term. But yeah, I mean, moving on to looking at individual coins, we've spoke about the impact of maybe liquidity, what chains they're on. What impact do you think the trading volume has on the success of tokens?
I mean, it has huge success with a token because the more trading volume is, the more people, have access to it. And also, a lot of people use on-chain metrics to track how successful a token's going to be. And if you have good trading volume, then that's like one of the main indicators and the main flags that go off on all of these softwares saying, hey, by the way, there's X amount of volume going to this token right now. We might want to have a look at it. So trading volume is huge. And again, I mean, I keep coming back to Hyperliquid, but it just makes sense. Hyperliquid's got so much trading volume right now, like an insane amount of open interest. It's like number 7 in terms of like exchanges right now in terms of trading volume. So when you're looking at that, you're like, okay, well, the token must be something to have a look at, right? Um, Same thing with, if you look at Solana, Solana's had like insane trading volume for the last like 12 months. And that's the reason why Sol has continued, to perform really, really well. I mean, I know the casino implosion and it's down to around 170 at the moment. And there's a lot of, focus on Ethereum right now, but that doesn't take away from the amount of volume that Solana's had in the last 12 months. And long term, people will come back to Sol once the rotation happens from ETH as well. So I think it's one of the main indicators for me that I look at, in terms of, how active a cryptocurrency is going to be.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Awesome. And another indicator, something that I look at from a growth perspective when we're assessing a project's potential, we're looking at big holders, right?
Hmm.
We're looking at what their token distribution is. And if I turn around to a project that wants to work with us and there's a 6% wallet, there's a 3% wallet, and I go, all right, who are these dudes? And they're like, we don't know. It's a difficult cook. It's a really difficult cook because if you start sending that and you got someone holding 6% of supply, they're just consistently going to dump
Hmm.
potentially on all of the progress that you make. But there's another side as well, which is the general coin term. Like I'm talking smaller coins here, where people might have just sniped something at launch and had this big bag, and I wouldn't necessarily consider them. Yes, they're a whale in this specific coin, but on the broad scale, they're not like a whale.
Hmm.
And obviously, in a lot of the big coins, you're not going to have 6% of supply.
No.
You're not going to have 1% of supply, otherwise you're going to be a multi-billionaire. So I don't mind looking at whales in the upper end of the market as an indicator to see where their money's flowing.
Hmm.
When I see them in some of the projects that we help, smaller coins, it's obviously a problem. I don't like seeing whale-sized wallets.
Hmm.
But I was wondering what your thoughts are, how closely you could look at whales, where their money's moving in the market, whether you use it as an indicator.
Yeah, we do. We use Arkham to track a lot of like the Well wallets. We also use a platform called Drops Tab, which is really good. And we track a lot of what the Trump family's doing as well and like what they're holding. I can see, Donald Trump's wallet and see what he's holding. It's a little bit hard because a lot of people tend to send Donald Trump a lot of different coins. But you can distinguish which ones he's bought and which ones have just been sent to his wallet, which is really good. We like looking at World Liberty Financial. We like to see what his actual DeFi project is holding within his project. So, he's got a lot of ETH. Obviously, it's built on ETH. But he's also, got a lot of Chainlink, ENA, also holding a little bit of Tron, which is surprising, but he's got collaborations with Justin Sun, so it kind of makes sense. Um, He's holding this token called Move, which is a new layer 2. It's the only layer 2 that he holds in his wallet. So, we're looking at that. So we do tend to look at whales and what they're holding, and people of influence as well to see what they're holding. And if they keep buying a particular token, then that's when we really want to look at it. So we first identified Psy when Liberty Financial bought it. We were like, okay, interesting. Why are they buying Psy? What's the reason behind that? And then when we looked at it and did research, we found the TVL was increasing, which is total value locked. We saw projects building on it. We saw the price action was looking pretty good. So we were like, okay, this is one to look at. So, and that came from us tracking Well wallets.
Nice. And I think anyone who's listened to this so far will probably be able to predict when I ask this question what your answer is going to be. But what are, like, just recap, what are the altcoins that you're bullish on right now and you're holding right now?
Bullish, I mean, short term on Ethereum right now, and always long term Bitcoin. I'm going to be holding Bitcoin for the next, I don't know, 40 years of my life. Altcoins, I would say Psy, undervalued. Sui, great, solid, potential Salana killer. Salana is great, solid. And also there's a new RWA project which has cropped up recently called Syrup, or also known as Maple Finance. That's really interesting. We've seen that Ondo has been leading the way. Mantra Ohm got absolutely destroyed, which is unfortunate. And Ondo had no competitor. Maple Finance is now a real competitor to Ondo, and it's like 5 times smaller in market cap. So that's an RWA project that we've been looking at. I also really like Tau. I think Tau is like a super solid AI project, super decentralized. I think it's got good utility, and it's different to all the other AI GPU tokens or AI agents and things like that. It's kind of its own thing. So those are the ones that I'm mostly focused on at the moment. And then obviously Hyperliquid.
Of course.
Of course.
So not Penguin? Not PENGU? Not back in the Penguins?
I do like PENGU. I obviously don't like to recommend meme coins, but I will caveat and say that PENGU has actual real world utility in terms of the brand is great. They have an audience outside of crypto, which is really key, and it's probably one of the only meme coins or even cryptocurrencies necessarily that has outside real world utility, which is really cool to see. So as a meme coin, if I had to pick one that I've really backed, it would probably be PENGU right now.
And maybe you're missing one. I think we need to like switch up your style a little bit, because the glasses you have on your head are not Pit Viper glasses.
Pit Viper?
Yeah, you know Mog? You know Mog coin? You must have seen Mog coin with the Pit Viper glasses.
Yeah.
So next time we see Danielle, she's gonna switch out these glasses. She's gonna have a pair of Pit Vipers on. She's gonna be full DJ mode, and she's gonna be holding Mog as well.
Maybe.
That's
see.
my prediction. You don't need to
see.
know what altcoins I think are going to send. My prediction is that Danielle is going to become DJ and Danielle.
DJ and Danielle. Maybe. I've been looking more into the trenches a little bit, but I'm not quite there yet. I'm still got PTSD from like 6 months ago.
Don't we all? The only way to get over it is to just to keep trying to believe.
Yeah, I know.
Keep participating. But yeah, just kind of finalizing the altcoin discussion that we've had. In your opinion, and this is the question that if you give a direct answer to it, I'm gonna be very surprised. But are we now in altcoin season?
I think we are showing signs that we are starting an altcoin season.
I knew you were gonna get around it.
Yeah. That's where my head's at the moment, and also from like a technical perspective and an on-chain perspective. If we look at the altcoin season index, we're out of Bitcoin season at the moment, and we are currently in like the midway point, which indicates to me the start of an altcoin season. So there are a lot of altcoins that have started to outperform Bitcoin, but an altcoin season from a technical or a technicality means that 75% of the top 50 coins are outperforming Bitcoin. which is not the case at the moment. We're at 39% of altcoins are outperforming Bitcoin at the moment. So it's showcasing to me that we're starting, but we're not there yet. And if anything, if we get into an altcoin season, that's when you want to sell. So you want to start buying before that and selling, before we get to altcoin season, in my personal opinion.
NFA.
Not financial advice.
NFA. Okay. I don't argue, and I like the fact that you are assessing the data that's out there to actually make an informed decision, because look, people come and ask questions about crypto all the time, and realistically, no one knows what's going to happen, but we do our best to understand what's put in front of us and make informed decisions and hope that those informed decisions pay off. There's nothing to say that tomorrow something terrible in the world happens and crypto is affected by that. And although all the signs looked amazing, they're not paid off. So I hope that they obviously do pay off and we keep moving in this direction. Because like you mentioned, those numbers are slowly starting to creep up.
Yeah.
Bitcoin's dominance has been insane for the last however long, 12 months now, 18 months, however long it is.
Yeah.
Especially in the last 6 months, like insane dominance. And we're starting to see for the first time that come off because of, or namely Ethereum.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to know as well is, you mentioned it a couple of times, Salana. You've said Salana has a lot of liquidity right now. Do you think, like, what's your expectations for Salana in this cycle? They've just had the ETF as well. Do you think that this is going to be an attractive asset to institutions? Do you think that Salana could go to $400 or $500 as people are expecting? Or do you think that ETH is the real L1 that's going to lead this cycle and lead the rotations?
Well, Solana's been leading the altcoins the entirety of this cycle, apart from in the last maybe 2 months since ETH has started to dominate. So like, let's not forget that. The other thing is, if we look at what's happened with Solana over the last year, it's been like the most amount of volume in a lot of the layer ones that we already have on the market. We've had the trenches go crazy. We've also had Trump launch his own coin on Solana, even though his DeFi project is on Ethereum, right? That says something huge as well. So I think Solana is going to be the one in the long term that I think is actually going to win. So yeah, I think with ETH right now, it's dominating at the moment. There's a lot of liquidity that is moving from Sol into ETH. Everyone thought Ethereum was dead 6 months ago. So also, let's not forget that there's narrative, there's, flips and changes in where interest is. So at the moment, Ethereum has the interest. It will go up. It will dominate for a while against not just Sol, but a lot of other altcoins. It will get to a certain point where it will peak out. People will take profits. Where they're going to flow that liquidity, it's going to be into Solana, and that's where we're going to hit that 400-500 Solana when that happens. Not financial advice, but I do think that like Solana will get to that $400-500 range for sure. I mean, all-time high is at 300, so to hit $400, I don't think it's too out of the question.
And do you think that a lot of that is just going to be retail, like in terms of what moves Solana up to $400-500, or do you think it will be maybe some action on their ETF?
It depends. There's only one ETF that is currently available, and that's a staking ETF, and it's not SEC regulated. So there's a lot of hoops to go through and get access to that ETF. If there is an ETF that gets approved now before the end of the year that is SEC approved, then certainly that will definitely have an effect on price. But even if there isn't, I still think it could get up to that range without it. We've already got to $300 without it. There's no reason why we can't get to 400 without it.
Let's hope so. Because
Yeah,
like
me
I
too.
said, when I didn't buy the Range Rover, I bought Sol as well. So we need that $400-500. I need to be in a situation where I go back to Dubai and I feel just as rich there as I do in Bali.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, to live that lifestyle in Dubai is
Going to be quite hard to do that in Dubai. You need a lot of money in Dubai to live the Bali lifestyle.
yeah, we might need to see like an Ethereum at like 1 million and like a Salana at like 50,000 for me to feel like even a tiny bit on the rich spectrum in Dubai.
Or XRP at 10,000, which is what everyone's saying.
Uh, yeah, let's see if that one happens. But okay, so just wrapping up here, I guess there's been a lot of conversation today about the upcoming market. And yeah, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your wisdom, your insights. Obviously, you do this every single day. You have certain strategies that you've shared. And I think the last thing is, if you are someone that is in crypto right now and you're thinking, how do I take maximum advantage of this up and coming cycle if we do get it?
hmm
What are your tips for those types of people?
I think the first thing is don't chase pumps. I think a lot of people are trying to chase the pumps right now and are making huge mistakes. Altcoins move differently. So you might have hyperliquid that leads and then starts to pull back. And if you would have bought on that pump, you're now underwater. Same thing with like other altcoins. I would actually try and identify what's going to move next as opposed to buying what's moving now. So that's what we're identifying at the moment. So we're seeing different altcoins or noticing different altcoins that are now pulling back that still have good long-term potential. And those are like really, really good entries right now, as opposed to like trying to chase ETH, right? ETH's moved, it's moving now. If you would have bought ETH 2, 3 months ago, then you'd be winning, right? So what's the next ETH? What's the next move, right? So we see Solana as undervalued. 170 Solana, like undervalued there. It will move, but you don't want to buy Sol when it's, breaking $200 and it's already, moved a lot of the time. So that's what I would look at. Don't chase pumps. Also, keep your portfolio small. Like you don't need to have 30 altcoins. There's no reason to have that many. Like keep 5 or 6 super solid, L1s that you really like and have like long-term potential, and then maybe a couple that are differentiated. So it could be like an RWA token or an AI token, or a DEX like Hyperliquid, for example. And just don't overtrade it. Don't overtrade it. I had people in my group yesterday say, I've just opened a 10x long on this. Should I close it? I'm like, if you've never traded, if you never leverage trade, like don't leverage trade. There's no need to do that. Just hold small spot portfolio, and be patient. Be patient because they will move eventually. And also have an exit plan. Please have an exit plan. Like don't round trip your altcoins, please.
Yeah, please. I'm just talking to the camera to my future self. Don't round trip.
Yeah, please. Me too. Don't round trip it. We went through our exit strategy with our group yesterday, and we've got a really good understanding of like, what's going to happen, which will be everyone will start saying it's different this time. It's going to go up more. Like super cycle, all these buzzwords that are going to stop you from taking profits at the targets that you've given yourself. Um, so it's just being strong in that mentality and saying, if I'm going to get out at a 5k ETH, get out at a 5k ETH. Because what will end up happening is you'll get to 5k ETH and you'll be like, it's going to go to 8, it's going to go to 10, I'm going to hold on longer. And look, it might do, but it's always good to just make sure that you take profits. And one of the things we get our students to do is to start taking profits early, because it's a psychological thing. Once you've started to take profits, it's a lot easier to continue. But if you keep holding, then you'll continue to keep holding, and then the market will crash and you'll lose it all.
Very good points. And yeah, I mean, I've been investing in crypto since like 2017, and yeah, I don't really know how to take profits. And I'm hoping that this time it's going to be different. This time that I've been, for the last 12 to 18 months, just ready to just cheat a market, and be like, yeah, I cheated that, and feel relief from that. But unfortunately, I'm still yet to do this. And even if I look at some positions, maybe I put in like March time, like I'm thinking, yeah, I'll get a quick 2x on these and I'm out. Nah, I'm staying. You know, we're just getting started. I'm staying here. I'm gonna be here to the end. But yeah, look, Danielle, I really, really appreciate you coming on and sharing a lot of wisdom with individuals that are in the space. This episode's been a little bit different because normally I'm talking solely around how to grow projects in the space. And I always do think that if you have an understanding of what grows a project, we spoke a little bit about that today when we're looking at, say, tokenomics of hyperliquid
Hmm.
and these important elements. It gives you an advantage when looking at, especially the smaller coins, to understand whether they have what it takes to grow. Because the bigger coins, they're just going to get taken by the market, right?
Yeah.
They're gonna be impacted by market dynamics, and arguably a lot of small coins may catch that rotation as well. But what are the teams behind these tokens really doing? Are they good at creating speculation, hype, and capitalizing on the current market? Do they have
Hmm.
solid foundations that is going to mean that, if we hit a bear market, they're not going to lose 99% of their value because they've got
Mm.
real buying pressure coming into their tokens because someone needs to buy that token, and that's holding up some end of the market, even if some of the speculation and hype based pressure in the market disappears. So yeah, I still think it's an interesting conversation to have because even as I've alluded to, I might not be a trader or an investor. I'd never call myself that. I'm probably in the bottom 5%, right, of these types of individuals. But it's still very interesting because both sides of the market benefit each other. And I'm sure
Yeah.
that a lot of people in crypto trying to grow a project are also going to think what's happening in the market because you need to know this.
Yeah, of course.
You have to know this. And I feel like that's the insight that you've given us today. So appreciate it. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having
And
me.
so, yeah, Danielle, really appreciate you coming on today, sharing all that you have. And I hope that your optimism becomes true. And
Me too.
good, good. Uh, and that by the end of this year, we're retired. By the end of this year, doesn't matter if the AI comes and takes over our jobs and the human race because we're not gonna care. We're gonna be sitting on beaches sipping pina coladas
Yeah, in Cancun.
in Cancun, yeah, or maybe in Bali.
Or maybe in
Who
Bali, yeah.
knows? But the point is, this is a very important time for the market, and yeah, dial in, and I'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks for having me.
Pleasure.